taking meeting notes in Logseq was the first use case that I used it for. And it was so much better than writing in my little scratch pad and then trying to find those different notes scattered everywhere and then trying to action them. Now, I definitely still use my pen and paper, but I try and synthesize what is necessary into my different programs. I say different programs there because I don't only use Logseq anymore. If you've seen some of my previous videos, I look into using Tana as well. But I received a question in the course, which really was very interesting. And I decided to have a look at an example here of how to use Logseq only for taking meeting notes. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Logseq and hopefully improve the way that you take your notes. Now, the three things that you really want to do when taking meeting notes in order to take effective notes is track your action items, track all your decisions, and then track your insights. Now, the insights one is a little bit more peripheral. It's not really that important. If you just want to be able to go back to a meeting and return to that meeting, you can do that and then just sort of skim through the summary. But sometimes it's helpful to have, an insight tag you can go back to. So in this video, I'm going to look at the minimum viable structure, which is actually very, very minimal. And then what I'm tracking, some examples, what I like, and then what I don't like about taking notes in Logseq or taking meeting notes in Logseq. And the minimum viable structure is a great place to start. At the simplest, you can simply enter #meeting, #person. So let's have a look at the example database now. If I just enter here, #meeting, and then #person A or whatever it might be, person, then I can enter notes. If I just indent it, I can just enter notes right beneath that. So this is some important thing. Okay, so a couple of things to just speak to very quickly here. The tags looks different in your Logseq probably because I'm using custom CSS, and this is the bullet threading plugin. And it just indicates where your information is indented. So the cool thing is now that I can just say, click on this. So shift click opens it up in the right page. And let me just close this one here because, oh, well, that's fine. You can see all the other examples I'm going to get to later. But then what I have in my linked references here to my meeting page is all the references in reverse chronological order. And then I can go and find all those meeting notes, and then I can filter by, a whole bunch of things there. So yeah, lots of power in simply being able to go back to those things very quickly and see it in that reverse chronological order. Okay, so that is at its simplest how you can take meeting notes. And that's how I started really. Just, taking notes and being able to use the linked references to go back to that page and then filter. Now, as I've evolved in my use of Logseq, I started using properties more and also using the markdown headers, etc., just to make things a little bit nicer. Now, I use a text expander called atext, which I just say JJEM, and it's basically like a macro which introduces this nice little structure here. So this over here is your markdown header. So then I can just say space, my meeting title, and then I can say what it relates to. So these are properties, and I'm saying this is a meeting. It's an event type meeting, and this relates to whatever project. Maybe I've got some project A there. Okay. And then I can say who my attendees are, and then I can enter them as links as well. So let's say Crendon, I think, is an example in this database. And then in preparation, I can enter what my objectives are for the meeting. This is just a little structure that I use. So saying who my attendees are, what the objectives are, and then I take notes on the discussion as it goes, and then I track next steps. Okay, so let's say make sure we cover this thing. And if you're watching this far, I think you are invested in the channel, so I'm going to ask your opinion here. I've changed my microphone setup, and if the audio quality is good, I've changed it for the last few videos, so just if the audio quality is still bad, please let me know, because I always get these comments like volume, blah, 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 blah. So just put that nicely in the comments, and I will look at getting a new microphone. But yeah, so the then the discussion, the notes that we took on the meeting, and then next steps. Okay, cool. Now you can see there's not much difference from what I'm doing between these two things really, because it's just adding a little bit of structure with some block properties and then adding some sections just to order my thoughts. But really the power is still in just being able to go to that link. So I can say, shift click, open up my project A and see all the different things here. So there we go. At the simplest, you can just use hashtags or backlinks. So, that's the same thing. So link here, boom. Those things will do the same thing. It creates a page and then I can go and look in the linked references to find those meeting notes. And then the little bit nicer way is just using properties. And yeah, that's really as simple as it can get. So at this point, I'm also going to add a little caveat here. Now, I am using Logseq for meeting notes, but that's just because I'm super familiar with it and I don't have that many meetings. So it's not like I'm having to filter through information, lots of different action items. I'm sort of managing myself using Logseq. So if you're looking for something complex, you might want to look into another solution. So I know that Tana is very, very good for this, and I'm actually going to speak to that a little bit later. If you're looking for structured stuff, as you're going through the video, if you think, oh, this isn't actually working for me, I need to get a little bit more detail, have a look at the other videos that I've done on Tana. Or maybe you want to look at another tool if you don't like the idea that Tana is cloud-based and proprietary. Apparently any type is very good. I don't know, but to be able to just retrieve your information in a linked database, that's really what you're looking for. Okay, so the things that I'm tracking in my meeting notes, okay, let's close these up here. Firstly, it's action items. So I use this inbox thing. So hashtag inbox, maybe you want to use like hashtag follow-up, and then that is anything that I need to discuss with someone. It's not like it's something I need to do specifically, but say hashtag and then John, hashtag John, and then there we go. I can then go and filter. When I go to John's page, I can filter for all the things that I need to discuss with him. And you see, this is why I like Logseq, because it's just light and flexible. It's just adding enough structure and links that I can go and filter the information. The other thing I can add is to-do items. So as I say, like you can say / to-do, or you can just use the shortcut Control-Enter, and that will bring up the to-do this thing. Okay, so then I can go to that to-do page and then find all of those things. And then I can also filter it by the structure that it comes in. So if I go and look at this or my example again, and then I say Control-Enter to do this thing, I can then go to the to-do page. So I can say Control-K, go to do, and then there we go. I can filter by project A, maybe. Where was the project there? Let's just search project A. There we go. And then there is that one thing that I need to do for project A. Okay, so jumping around here, but I'm trying to get back to that original style of just speaking as I were speaking to a friend. And then the other one that you can use is waiting. So this is if it's something that you're waiting for someone on. Again, this is like Logseq's built-in task management system. Okay, the personal notes and insights. So feedback, I use this tag when I had people working underneath me and I wanted to say, or above me, actually it goes both ways. I'd say hashtag feedback and then hashtag person. And then that would enable me to like accumulate feedback over time to then give back on like a monthly or quarterly basis. And then insight, I hardly use this to be honest, but it's a nice way to just track things that like really stick out to you so that you could then filter by project insight. So you get that triangulation of data. And then the final one, which is quite important, is decisions. So tracking decisions so that you can see who said what, who did what, who committed to what. Okay. So let's go look at some more examples in that other workspace. So I'm going to get a little bit messy now and just jump around and just show a couple of things that will hopefully help you to structure your workflow. Now, the first thing I want to say is that I've got this big exec meeting coming up, and this is what the person asked in the course. And you could create a block in the page or in the date that meeting was coming up. So hypothetically, the meeting is on the 26th. So I'm going to shift click there. And then I've gone here and I've created this big exec meeting quarterly strategy. Maybe it relates to strategy project or whatever. I don't know. Now, this block over here, you can see I can then reference this exact block in my block properties over there. So this is referencing that block over there. But this is not a great approach. And this is part of the thing that comes in with Logseq having blocks and pages, and it might get a little bit confusing. It becomes a bit difficult to filter for this sort of information. If I relate it up to there and then I go into that block, I've got my block references and I can see all the times that that has been referenced. But it becomes a little bit messy to maintain. So I think a better approach, at least when using Logseq, is to use pages. So I've got this big exec meeting page, and this then enables me to filter for any information. So hypothetically, I've got something that I want to discuss in this meeting. Maybe I can then say, filter, what is the link I used? Follow up. Okay. And then I'll say, okay, these are the things to follow up on in this meeting. But you can see here that, you're still having to go and navigate in the link references. Perhaps you want to use a query. So then I can say / query. And then I don't like using the query builder. I still like using this standard query. And so I'm going to say, and big exec meeting page. Don't know why it's not coming up in the suggestions there, but anyways. And then, and then say maybe inbox and follow up. Okay. So then I'm creating this catch-all that then lets me see, okay, cool. These are things that I need to follow up on in this meeting. And where are these things coming from? Well, if I click on this, just click on there, I can see that it's coming from this random meeting block on October 25th. So I had a meeting in preparation for this one meeting, and I've got this inbox item that then is linked underneath that. Similarly, on October the 23rd, if I click, let me just click on this block expander over there, I see that I have my first random meeting that was related to my big exec meeting coming up, and then I can go and filter this. Okay, and then if I need to take notes on that information, I can then say, / enter there and then start taking these notes over here. Now, the thing that the person was doing, and you can definitely do this, is to say, okay, maybe in this meeting page, I want to then bring in this as a block reference. So now I'm going to say Control-C in that block. I'm going to go home here and just enter that as a block reference. And then I can take notes on this item over here. So taking some notes. I could also use block embeds. So let me say Control-E and then paste that over here and then embedding that full block. And that just means that I can edit the block in its original location. Okay. So I'm really covering a lot of possibilities here. Like there's a lot of things that you can do to have the information in the same place, and the query at least is a good solution to be able to bring everything in that you need. But it can become a little bit cumbersome over time to manipulate this information. So that's why I say, you really have to define an approach that works for you. For me, it was very easy and flexible. I would just go to inbox and then filter for what specific thing I need. I'm meeting with Crendon West. What are the things that I need to chat to Crendon about? I also started creating dashboards, but eventually over time, things sort of fall by the wayside. So it's really about defining your own approach. Something I wanted to speak about quickly is just the way that I've got the structure here now, where I don't have the attendees in my block properties. And the reason for this is if I have a next step, which is a to-do, so let's say Control-Enter this thing for the meeting. If I had my attendees in the block properties there, so maybe I just say, actually just add John over there in the event. This to-do would then show up on John's page. So if I go to let me just actually go to Control-K, to-do on the right. To-do, oopsie. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Let me just unlink that there. And if I say John, this to do for the meeting would show up in John's page, but I don't want that to show up in John's page because it doesn't relate to John. Because following the structure of indentation is saying, this is my big meeting block over here. And then saying, nested underneath that, I have this to do. So it's finding that link it's linked to John. Because if I click there, it's saying it's linked to all of the information up there, then all of the information there, and then all of the information here. So separating the attendees out enables you to like create that separation in your information. Okay, so that's just some of the rationale behind my structure. You really want to understand how Logseq uses indented information when you are building out your structure. Okay, so heading back to this point here, let's actually zoom in here. What I like about taking notes in Logseq, I love the filtering. It's really become second nature to find this information very easily. It's flexible. I don't have to build these structures up front that are very complex. Dragging and dropping information is just such a win for me. So for instance, I open this thing up and hypothetically, I want to drag this meeting across here. So maybe this meeting didn't happen today. And then I just drag it across to my right sidebar over here, which is another page which is opened up. So that's really great. The other thing is just having this like date-based approach. So if I just go to my journal, so GJ, go to my journal, let's close this on the right here. If I scroll down, I can see all this history of my meetings. And then I can, here's a decision. Cool. Filter decisions for whatever projects that I come up with. So it really is a nice way to like have everything easily accessible just with linked references. So for me, it's simple, easy to find. And, this should probably come up here. If all else fails, the query will catch it. So, in that example there, you can just use text-based queries to find information. So if you didn't tag something and you say, okay, I'm sure I typed this in my database somewhere, just use a simple query. So I just say / query, let's see, fails the boom. Oh, wow. So I've got a few things which have got that fails comma, and there we go. So, I mean, that's just a simple show, maybe showing off their Logseq's power. And then namespaces for recurring meetings. If you have got like a lot of meetings that come up again and again, let's go back here and look at an example. There we go. I used to work in the recruitment function of an organization, and we had a bunch of different projects. So I then would use this namespace hierarchy, and you can use page properties. You can structure this in different ways, but this just helps you to filter information and really easily go back and see all the different meetings that you had. So if I go to this page, I can then say, okay, filter for all the meetings. Great. We had 2 meetings, and I can quickly get an overview of those things. So again, not having to go through paper notes, much quicker. So future Dario coming in here with something to add. The benefit of namespaces, which I don't think I've called out enough, is that you have this hierarchy here. So below your link references, you can then go and access your hierarchy. So then I can say, okay, my company, and then just go back here. I've got recruitment and then another project, specific project. So I could very quickly navigate there to the different projects that I want to get to. I could use properties to do the same thing, but I just use namespaces here. I've said before that the more I grow in Logseq, the more I tend to not use namespaces. But this could be something that it's super recurring, very repeatable. I don't have to do a lot of it. So it's not that I'm having to enter aliases and stuff to match my namespaces properly. I can also then just do this namespace query. So namespace my company, and there we go. So I don't have to actually even close those linked references. So very helpful for recurring meetings, things that are quite set in stone and that you don't have to rename things and reconfigure, because renaming and reconfiguring your namespaces can be a bit of a headache. So what I don't like in Logseq, it can be difficult to pull things together, trying to bring all these things with queries and whatever, it can be a little bit complex. And if you don't have a systematic way of working, which I think is like part of the thing that I didn't have initially, I didn't know where I wanted to store information. I didn't know how I would want to bring things up. I didn't have that structure or ontology, as some people might say, to be able to make sure that everything filters to the right place. I just sort of had a knack for trusting that I would find the information by using the filters, etc. So it can be a little bit difficult to have like a super systematic, like making sure that everything draws through and nothing falls through the cracks. And when I talk about personal knowledge management, I talk about this aspect of probing, and probing is, tracking actions. This is why I'm not using Logseq for project management activities as much anymore, because things were falling through the cracks for me. I had like over 300 tasks and I wasn't able to map them correctly to the projects. So that's why I've moved my project management away from Logseq. Now, it's not so easy to share or collaborate. Now, you can publish your full workspace online. I've spoken about that in a separate video, but really you can just copy and paste the markdown. That's okay. But to share notes easily, Logseq is not collaborative just yet. You can use GitHub to do that, but really it is a little bit of a mission. It's difficult to schedule things as well. So I can say / scheduled and then add a time over here, but it's not like a native intuitive calendar interface. So that's another reason why I've shifted away from using this like specifically for project management. And then difficult to track and use checkboxes. So if I go to some sort of action item, if I have got this thing for John for feedback, and then I action that feedback, there's no way to just quickly tick this off. I have to then either mark it as done and then filter that out. So feedback that is not done, or I have to just Control Enter there and then remove that feedback over there in order to show that I've actioned that thing. So it's not just like a simple checkbox. And if I go here, like this checkbox over here, functionality isn't that great because it just changes it to an X there. And, when you're in this list, so the syntax for entering a checkbox is a little bit weird. If I go enter there, it exits the list. But what I really want to do is, shift enter, and I don't want to have to do that. It used to work a little bit better than that, but alas, that's not altogether there. Okay, so bringing this to a close, taking meeting notes in Logseq is a great point of departure if you're wanting a place to start taking your notes digitally. The retrieval aspect and just being able to track those different things and then go to the pages and find the link references really is a huge win. As you can see, it is a little bit difficult as things start getting a bit more complex. So I wouldn't recommend this if you've got really complex meeting notes, or maybe you can figure out your own way. It's all about figuring out your own way. So this video is a little bit higgledy-piggledy. I can fully acknowledge that. If you want a structured approach, I have got the Logseq Mastery course, which builds things up really, really slowly. I realized how much there is to cover and all the different things that I've looked at in this video. So if this is intimidating and you are completely lost, perhaps that is a better place to start. This is more like, as I say, sharing with a friend and just making it accessible for people who are using Logseq already potentially. As I said, I am also working on Tana, and that is really great for structured systems. And I've actually got a bundle running where you can buy the Logseq course and the Tana course, which I'll link to below, because I really do think they are excellent for different use cases. Logseq for knowledge management, just using the tags to be able to find your information super easily, or the backlinks. And then Tana for adding a little bit more structure. And Tana also has got the calendar capabilities, which has come in, and that really is great, specifically if you're scheduling meeting notes and looking at time blocking different things. I am working on a video which looks at tags versus super tags and why you might want to use those different things. So if you have any questions in advance of that video, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. Sorry, not sorry for the scattered approach. I really want to just produce a little bit more content without trying to make everything perfect and bring the beginner from the get-go. So this is more just like a what is possible, and hopefully it will encourage you and give you some ideas to start taking your notes in Logseq.